The Crucible Knights serve Godfrey the First Elden Lord and are located in various locations throughout Elden Ring, using Crucible incantations that give them the powers of various creatures like breathing fire, charging with horns, or swiping with a tail. And in today's video, I want to try out the equipment of both variations of the Crucible Knights to see how they play out in practice and whether or not we can make any improvements to the overall build. But like the video and give it to me bite-sized. So starting off with the Crucible Knight Ordovis, he wears the Crucible Axe set, which is made up of the Crucible Knight gauntlets and greaves, combined with the Crucible Axe helmet and armor. This set will provide you with a 4% damage increase to all aspects of the Crucible incantations, totaling to a 17% total damage increase. We also have brilliant defense against both physical and elemental resistances, and 71 poise, which I love to see as I'm a poise enjoyer. For our weapons, we have the Ordovis' Greatsword, which is a powerhouse of a weapon with its weapon art Ordovis' Vortex, which has the power to create a vortex that damages and flattens opponents for massive damage and nearly impenetrable hyper armor. We also have the Horn Greatshield, which comes with the skill Shield Bash, allowing you to quickly block incoming damage and retaliate with your own. And I've added in the Finger Seal, as the Crucible Knights do use incantations, namely Crucible Breath, Horns, and Tail. My stats are up on the screen, where I've opted for a level 137 Vagabond, opting for that split of Strength and Faith for our spell requirements and weapon scaling. Then turning to Siluria, our armor set is mostly the same, except we'll swap out the Crucible Axe pieces for the Crucible Tree pieces. Our defense and poise is pretty much the same, so don't worry about any penalties. We have a single weapon, the Siluria's Tree, which comes with the weapon art Siluria's Woe, capable of launching a missile-like blast at either the ground when partially charged or at a distance when fully charged. Now, we don't have access to a number of incantations used by the bosses like Ground Stomp, Claw Uppercut or the Wing Dive, so we'll just be using the weapon, and I'll show you the stats, splitting our Strength and Faith for our scaling on a level 137 Vagabond. Now, taking Ordovis out for a spin in its vanilla form, we have a diverse setup that uses both a fantastic greatsword and a sturdy shield, and incantations that provide some variety and style to our battle. Our greatsword deals great damage on the moveset I really enjoy using, with overhead swings and sweeps, allowing you to catch enemies in combination with our high poise value. The skill can trade wonderfully with enemies, absolutely melting them at point blank, and it even has a lingering hitbox that can catch opponents who play aggressively. Our shield has brilliant guarding potential, and with Shield Bash, you can deal decent damage for free, providing you manage your stamina. Then with our incantations, we have 3 varieties that have different utilities. The Crucible Tail swipes with a small then larger tail that can knock back enemies for damage, and this can be tricky to land but is cool to use. The Crucible Breath is a slow but wide spanning fire attack that looks awesome and can stagger enemies for low amounts of damage, and is more useful for finishing off players with low health if you can catch them with the short range. Then we have Crucible Horns, which is one of the more useful incantations, capable of dashing towards an enemy and sending them flying into the sky for damage, although the range of this attack often stops just before the enemy and can be very situational. Then on Siluria, we have our Great Spear, which has a fantastic moveset and some really surprising reach, capable of hitting enemies really well, and our rolling sweep is great for catching enemies after dodging. But our skill is like a nuclear missile, capable of melting enemies at point blank, which is brilliant for countering mages, or it can be slammed into the ground for a fake out, damaging enemies near you. Now, the Crucible Knights have a very distinct style that's difficult to maintain with other weapons, which makes plugging our attack speed somewhat tricky to do without throwing on an odd sword that looks out of place with the cosplay. But let's see what adjustments we can make. For the Crucible Knight, I'll make a slight adjustment to the incantations by adding in Bestial Vitality, which will help us compensate for our slow attack speed by recovering our health over time, encouraging opponents to play more aggressively. For the talismans, we can maximize our power by throwing in the Shard of Alexander for a 15% boost to our skills, and the Godfrey icon, which will boost the power of our charge attacks, including our weapon art by 15%. I'll then also use the Bullgoat's Talisman for 95 points in total, and the Great Jar's Arsenal so we can carry our equipment on the following stats on our level 137 Vagabond. And with these adjustments, we're achieving some fantastic results, as we can now outlast our opponents without recovering health, making it easier to punish aggressive players without the need for a quicker weapon. In the event we need a quicker weapon, we still have access to our 3 Crucible incantations, which provide some variety to our attacks. On Siluria, I decided to add in some bestial incantations to plug the gap of only having a Great Spear at our disposal, specifically Beast Claw for a ranged option, and Bestial Sling for a quick firing, high damaging attack. Our talismans will also be the same as the last, except I've swapped out the Great Jar's Arsenal for the Carian Filigreed Crest, so we can use our skill a bit more frequently. And you will see these improvements in action, but they really do make a world of difference without disturbing the overall style of the build. By adding in some quick and ranged incantations alongside healing, we can finish off slippery opponents and end matches without taking a huge risk. But to wrap things up, I'll leave you with some arena battles and the boss fight so you can see the build in its entirety. But of course, leave your comments below and subscribe. This is Bite Sized Otaku, and I hope you enjoyed.